In this lesson, I'm going to tell you how to create a Gantt chart using spreadsheet data. And specifically, we're using Microsoft Excel 2010. I've already opened a spreadsheet, Microsoft Excel. If you don't know how to do that, you would go down to the Start bar and you would either select it if you've already used it before, or you would type it into your search programs and files field. Just type Excel there and it would bring it up so that you could open an Excel spreadsheet. So I've already done that. And I've already typed in part of my data, just so you didn't have to watch me type data. Type in a task column, a start date, completed, remaining, a duration, and an end date. So those are the columns that you need, so that's your column header row. Underneath that, you're going to type in the tasks that are required to complete your project. Now, I've typed generic tasks in here. You can type in specific tasks to your project and put exactly step by step what you're going to need to do to complete your project. You need to enter a start date that you're going to start that task. And then in the completed column, this is the number of days. Now, if it's already completed, you would put it in a completed column. So this task 1 has already been completed on my project, so I put it under the completed column. I put 3 days, and there are no days remaining. So I put a 0 under the remaining column. And so now for duration, I want to show you how to enter a formula into this field. For duration, we're not going to type in the number for the duration of the task. We're going to calculate it and let the spreadsheet calculate it. So type in an equal sign to indicate you're going to enter a formula. Then click on the data that you entered under that completed field, which was the 3. Now what shows up in your duration field is the cell name, which is C2. That means it's column C, row 2. And then put a plus sign because I want to add the remaining. So I want to click on the data in that remaining field, which is cell D2, and then you can hit enter to enter that formula into that cell. So you can see that the actual cell contains a 3 because it calculated the 3 plus the 0 is equal to the 3. But what you have in the cell is up at the top of on the top line of the screen. It's the cell D2 plus C2 plus cell D2. We need to enter another formula into the end date. So type in an equal to indicate that it's a formula. Click on the start date because we want to add the start date. Put in a plus sign, and we want to add the duration. So click on the duration field. So your formula that's being entered is equals B2 plus E2. And then you can hit enter there, and that will automatically calculate the end date for you. You can, now that you've typed that into these 2 fields, select these 2 fields, just highlight them, press Control C to copy them, or you can right click on them and click copy. And then you can highlight the remaining fields under those for your data and just hit the enter key, and it'll automatically copy those formulas into each of these cells below here and adjust for the cells that it's using to do the calculation based on which row it's in. So the advantage of doing this, to putting a formula in here instead of typing the data, is that if I have to change any of this data that's over in the completed or the remaining fields, let's say if I decided that, task 8, if it's going to take 1 day instead of 2, I could type a 1 there and hit enter, and it would automatically recalculate these in your spreadsheet and in your chart that we're about to create. So I'm going to put that back to a 2, and let's take a look now on how to create your Gantt chart from this data. So select all of the fields that you've entered, including the header row with task, start date completed, remaining duration, and end date up on the top. And then at the top of the screen, click Insert and go over to the charts and click on Bar for a bar chart. And then I want a 2D bar chart that's a stacked bar. So I'm going to click on the stacked bar for a 2D chart. Now it takes all the data that I have in the chart and the spreadsheet, and it creates this chart from it. I can click on the edge of this chart and I can move it if I want to move it up. And now we need to format this chart. If you will move your cursor over one of the tasks on that left vertical axis and right click on it, then click on Format Axis. You need to change the order under Axis Options. You need to click where it says Categories in Reverse Order and then click Close. So now the tasks in your chart are in the same order as the tasks in your spreadsheet. From top down, it's the first task through the task 13. It also moved your dates to the top of the chart. So if you would go up to the top of the chart, right click on those dates, click Format Axis, and under Axis Options we need to change Auto to Fixed, and we need to put the minimum date that we have in our data, which in ours was 3/30/2015. You do need to put the date with the year because it's going to recalculate that into a number of days. The maximum is the last date of your project, and ours is 5/20/2015. The major unit, change it to fixed and make it 30 days to represent a month worth of days. And the minor unit, change it to fixed with 1 for 1 day is your minor unit. The other thing we need to change on this axis is the alignment. So over on the left, click on Alignment, and then we need to change the custom angle. Type in a 45 there so that we can display our date at a 45-degree angle. Click Closed. And now you can see that not all of the tasks are listed because this chart's too small. So go down to the bottom of your chart where the dots are, and then when your cursor changes to a double arrow, click on that and then drag it down to make it bigger. I'm going to also do that over on the right side. I'm going to click on the right side, drag it over so that I can make my chart larger. And now all of my tasks are listed, and I have the dates at the top. The legend is over on the right side. I want it to be at the bottom. So right click on the legend, click on Format Legend, and change it to bottom for the legend options. And click Close. That moves the legend to the bottom. The next thing we need to do to make it look like a Gantt chart, we only need the completed and remaining bars to be displayed. So move your cursor to one of the start date bars over on the left side of the bars, and we need to right click on one of those bars, click Format Data Series, and under the series options for fill, click on Fill and select No Fill. And under Border Color, select that and choose No Line. Then click Close, and that removes those start date bars from the left side of your chart. Do the same thing for the end date. Move your cursor over one of your end date bars, right click on it, click Format Data Series, click Fill, choose No Fill, click on Border Color, and click No Line, and click Close. So that removed the end date bars from your graph. We need to do the same thing for the duration. We don't need that bar either. So move your cursor over one of the duration bars, right click on it, click Format Data Series, Fill is No Fill, and Border Color is No Line, and click Close. So now we have left just the completed and remaining bars that we need. On the legend, we don't need start date, so let's click on the start date, and you can either just hit the delete key on your keyboard, or you can right click on it. Let's do the same thing for duration. I'm going to right click, choose duration, right click on it, and then just choose delete. Do the same thing for end date. We don't need the end date in the legend. Right click on it and delete it. The last thing we need to do is give this a chart, a title. So at the top of the screen under chart tools, click on layout and choose chart title. And I'm going to choose above chart. That'll put a chart title above my chart. And just type in whatever you need to name your chart. I'm going to call this a sample spreadsheet Gantt chart. You need to date it, the date that you create it. I'm going to call this one 4/21/2015 because that's the date that I put this data in. That gives you a reference for the 21st was the date that this data was put in, so the tasks prior to it have been completed, and the ones remaining afterwards here are still there after that date, so that just gives you a point of reference for the dates. So this is how you create a Gantt chart using a spreadsheet.